being recorded, but not recorded on the audio yet.
It's a lot of history. I love it.
Yeah.
You watch that women's basketball game last night?
Afterwards, I was
Yeah, come
Huh?
on.
surprised. I was surprised. It was a role reversal from the year before.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that to go to the Final Four, or are they?
No, yeah, that's to go to the Final Four, I think.
Okay.
I think. What do you know, Mac?
Hey, another day at it. Another
Girl,
day.
A rating superstar.
Huh?
That Caitlin Clark, she's
Oh.
a rating superstar. People sign in that watch TV that have never watched girls basketball, so it's amazing. It's fun.
Yep. She can make the three, can't she?
She's,
They made one last night that was 30 feet, 7 inches.
no kidding. Wow. Even guys who's supposed to have more physical strength, that's quite a shot.
I
How's
agree.
it going?
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, so nice to see you with
It's
the
good to see
baby
you.
boy.
I know.
Did you try the college daycare?
Yeah, I have two
Mac,
kids
you
in
got
there.
that thing from Jamie?
Oh,
Yeah.
do you know I started?
Jamie's gonna be a
Did
little
you
late
really?
this morning, said go ahead and
Good
get
job.
started without him.
Okay.
Yeah, I fundraised for the building. And,
I did
Wow,
not.
good job.
Sylvia's in
Yeah, he
charge.
sent a
Yeah.
text.
It's important, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
It's
I'm
very
working on others.
Just means
Trying to find
Sylvia's in
other
charge.
buildings
She
for
gets to
others.
Yep.
Okay.
But I
be the
know that
orchestrator.
she said
You're in
that-
charge.
You're in charge.
Jamie's gonna be late.
Oh my goodness. Are we on microphone?
No, we're being recorded
We're
with the
ready.
cameras, but haven't started this one yet.
Okay, good, because I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Okay.
Too funny.
Just give me a second, I don't know where are we here. So we just call the agenda and call to order.
Just welcome everybody and
Okay,
say who's here and turn it over to Reagan.
okay.
You ready, Mac?
Yeah, I just have to do.
I guess we'd like to welcome. It's about 9:04. It's time for us to start our work meeting. We have roll call. Commissioner Adam is here and myself, and Commissioner Harvey is on the way, so we soon will have a full quorum. We're gonna have first presentation is about USU extension. We'll have Reagan, probably can't say her last name.
White Salisi.
Anyway, come to do her presentation. Welcome, thank you. Welcome to
Reagan W.
Reagan W.
That's fine.
It
So I'm
sounds
just
beautiful though, with the last name.
so I'm just giving a periodic report for since the start of our new year. So I have here some program summary from Ryan Benally, our Family and Consumer Science faculty. And then I also have just a brief update of, in addition to the programs that I've presented about, some new additions that we have added to the programming on my end for agriculture and natural resources. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to read through it at all. I can kind of summarize it if need be. Okay, so for Ryan's on Ryan's programming, he has been expanding the Create Better Health program, which is a state-based food nutrition program that's based off of the My Plate model. And they have educational programs for youth on up into adults, and they definitely work with all the way up even into elderly communities. And so he right now is in the process of procuring resolutions across the Navajo chapters to expand Create Better Health program and research into the Navajo communities. And so I'm not entirely sure what their process looks like, but I believe that on that side of things, they are trying to amend some of their programs to gear towards other ethnic groups in the state of Utah, and the Native American community is one of those groups also. So that's part of the IRB protocol that they're trying to go through for Navajo right now, is to make sure that they can, when they amend the program, that they should be able to collect data from surveys that they collect from participants. So in there's a whole summary of a lot of the work that he's trying to expand Create Better Health through the reservation. We do have programs continuously going. We have a Create Better Health ambassador, and she's running programs on up through Monticello and all across the reservation right now. She does live in Monument Valley, so she spends a lot of time doing programs in Monument Valley right now. But she does have monthly visits into several communities right now. Ryan's also begun to initiate the Community Health Worker Certificate Program. He previously was working on this program with the San Juan Health Department when he was employed there, is my understanding. And when the San Juan Health Department dropped the program, he requested to see if he could pick it up under Utah State University. And so he's currently trying to expand that program and see how that can grow. I'm not too sure. I can see if I can get more of a full description of what that program actually is. I just know it's a certification program that I think requires participants to complete like 128 hours to get certified to do this program. And my understanding is it is they get trained to basically help create like resource materials and then start educating people in the community and giving back into the community. So it's kind of like helping to expand all the local resources that the departments are developing, or helping local departments develop resources so that way they can get it back out into the community. And so that's my understanding of how that program works. He has been trying to initiate what we have is our 4-H tri-teams, which is also a state-based program. And what it is we take youth that are middle school on up to high school, and they participate to go get trained in our tri-team training, which is basically youth leadership development, professional development skill set. And then once they get their training, then we expect them to come back, and they then start to develop 4-H programs, they develop clubs, and they start recruiting kids. So basically they start becoming our volunteer agents of youth, but it gives them an opportunity to develop leadership skills. So he's been working with that and trying to get that up and going. Him and I both went to what we call My PI training in the second week of February up in Logan. And what that program is a youth CERT program, Youth Emergency Preparedness Initiative is what they call it. And this program was initiated out of the state of Missouri originally. It's a nationally recognized program. I believe they've had four national awards since their program has been initiated, and they are now expanded into over 25 states. And so our organization, Utah State University, and then part of the the state CERT director has also taken up the program and received the training to expand this program across the state of Utah. So right now we actually have 3 MyPI trainers that have officially been completed the training. And we have 1 cohort going on in Blanding right now by Kristen Black. She's running that. But we're trying to get this program out. And what it encompasses is 32 to 36 hours of required CERT training on top of, so it's the general CERT training, and then it's on top of additional trainings that are added that complete the MyPI. And then the last part of this program is what we call Prep Plus 6. So they have to go to their own home, their families, and they create an emergency preparedness plan with their family, and then they have to do that with an additional 6 families. So right now we have 14 kids that are still undergoing the first cohort in Blanding. We're hoping to try and have trained hubs within each community, and that these youth can kind of be leading agents. And we are working with Tammy Gallegos on that program. And then the CUBE program, this is very new. There's not much going on, but Ryan is partnering with Grand County Family and Consumer Science faculty there to develop outreach material that is considered culturally relevant to diverse communities across the state of Utah. So that's a very new program. There's not a lot that's known on that one yet. And then for my updates, we have numerous things going on.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
question before?
Yes.
My PI program, do we just have it in Blanding? Do we have anything like in White Mesa or?
Not yet. So we
Okay.
newly got trained with this, and
Okay.
and because of the time requirement for the kids to actually complete the program, we're working with one group of kids at a time.
Yeah.
I'm planning to expand down into Montezuma Creek, potentially fall. Right now, we're starting to work relationships with expanding a second community garden in the county in Monument Valley with the community center there and the director. And so once we start strengthening those relationships, we're hoping to maybe have this
Yeah.
program take off
Yeah.
down in that area. And it partners very well with the Watts of Love Light initiative that I have, that being part of the CERT packet that they get. So these kids, when they participate, they get a full equipped bag with the training manual. They get a hard hat, they get emergency vest, they get first responder gloves, like all the basic first responder CERT kit base that they get. And they only get that when they complete the program, and the completion of the program is when they complete that Prep Plus 6. So they have to go through and make sure that they complete that emergency response preparedness, and they're kind of breaking out. And so if we have 14 kids right now, we had 15 to start, we lost 1, so we have 14 kids in the Blanding program right now. And so 14 times 7, basically, because it's their family plus 6 more, that's how many families that we can basically help get emergency response plans, and it expands that way. It's a really hard program to sell, though, because we're looking for people to commit, on a weekly basis all the time and everything. And so moving forward with some of the other communities, we're hoping that we can maybe like break out all of that training within a few days, maybe in the summer, or at a time where they can just kind of commit to long days and break it out. But it's not a 4-H program, but they run it, and they work with Extension 4-H across all the other states that they partner with
Because
to
they
run this
kind of
program.
overlap in purpose, so.
Yeah, but it was a program that was founded through an extension department out of the state of Missouri.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's a really good program, but it's really hard to sell, and it's really hard to get the kids to
Well,
commit.
I think one of the problems we have in our communities, maybe throughout the state, is volunteers. We do have lots of volunteers in doing different things, but not people, because the economy, they're going to work. And so
Yeah.
we're having a hard time with
Yeah.
people volunteering, but I think it's really good for the youth because with their phones and they're not used to communicating or talking to other people, and this is an amazing good thing for them to experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like we used to have a scout program within our church. We don't have that, so we're kind of minus in some of the interaction with human beings,
Hmm.
So thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on this part?
No, thank you. That's good.
Okay. So just some additions on my end. We have 12 new participants in our Master Gardener program. We're trying to reorganize a lot of the garden projects right now. The greenhouse over at our youth garden completely collapsed last storm, and so we're trying to maneuver and discuss how to help. The owner of the garden doesn't live locally. They come back part-time year. And so, and she herself has had needed
Is
to
that the
support
one
her
in
husband.
Brandon?
Yeah. She's had to support her husband, and her husband's fairly elderly right now.
Mhm.
And they're both elderly, but he's starting to have a little bit more health problems, and so their focus has kind of been there instead of the garden. So we're hoping to kind of get our master gardeners together to help that garden keep going in the meantime.
The wind did lots of damage to the little greenhouse and everything. It's just
Yeah.
everywhere. In my other life, I have another life, but I have what they call service missionaries that I work with. And if you need help cleaning up
Okay.
the area, just kind of making it look, just let me know and
Okay.
I can go
Yeah,
with them. I have
I
two
think
strong young men that I'm working with them.
I think that would be helpful. We just need to make sure that we get it organized, and I think everybody's
Even
definitely
if it
for
just
that.
for now can be cleaned up and
Mhm.
get it ready. But that Elaine is her name
Yeah.
Elaine.
Yeah.
She has done a lot with youth. She used to work at the college, and little girls used to come selling cookies, and they would sell cookie for 50, just made for them. They were not making any money, so she organized them and created this store. And these children went all the way to Washington as a business. And then in her later years, now she has the gardening has been a really good thing there. But anyway,
Yeah. So we're trying to help her. We've been partners specifically to providing education and helping to provide some volunteer and like advertising and things. And we've helped fund the program also. And so we're hoping to keep that garden going because it's very important for the youth participation, especially through the summer when the kids don't have a lot of there's a lot of kids that don't necessarily have things to do in the summer, and so it's a
Yeah.
great opportunity to capture them to participating in that program. One new thing that I'm starting to kind of incorporate, and I just have it summarized here. There's a new grant that I officially was awarded with a team of other faculty at USU to start looking at climate adaptation resources that we're going to start making fact sheet information sheets and publicating information on the different trends of climate change. And so there's another grant, and I don't have it on here because I'm not sure it's going to be guaranteed to get funded, but we are also looking at establishing weather stations across Navajo to see if they can start capturing the weather across the Colorado Plateau. And so we're waiting to see if we get funded. Regardless, the Utah State University Climate Center is looking to fund at least one weather station, which can cost to about $10,000 just for a whole station. So it would include soil moisture monitoring, precipitation, temperature, humidity, all like basically everything. But in addition, it captures what that soil moisture is and the soil temperature. In addition to this program, we also have a program that I'm trying to run out. It's called our Ag Drip program. I gave a flyer in this attachment to where we have it's a state-based initiative to work with farmers on managing and monitoring their soil. So basically, if a farmer enrolls in this program and they're irrigating their fields, they do get a weather station to help monitor their field and how they're irrigating and how the climate's affecting. So we basically have multiple programs going across the state. It's been hard to see if the Ag Drip program can apply to down south. Just because there's really not an irrigation systems set up on the reservation that they are actually actively irrigating and being able to utilize those resources. So that program is more available for our community members more on the north side of the county. And then we're hoping that with this funding that we can establish weather stations, and we're working with the Navajo Nation to identify the location sites and have the land use agreements set aside along with training local people in the community on how to manage and utilize the information coming from those weather station data. So we're trying to expand the knowledge for utilizing these advanced technology tools in order to help farmers and ranchers kind of gain a little bit more of an advantage of understanding like where their benchmarking line is and sitting in their fields and managing the range and all these different types of tool sets. So I listed that there because the $30,000 right now, that specific grant is just specific for information material. The extension is going to start expanding out into more information for climate specific fact sheet information. And then the other grant that we're waiting to see if we get funded is specifically tribal, but it's going to be a $600,000 grant that would fund the project. And then that project would take place over 3 years. Another climate initiative that I'm working with is actually with the Utah State University Provost Office. They are looking at expanding the potential for expanding certificate degree programs through the university that would specifically focus in renewable energy like programs to certify like a solar technician, for example, or technicians that would be able to work and help create a workforce for renewable energy sources. So as the state of Utah starts to look forward into developing their renewable energy plan, Utah State University is looking towards expanding a workforce opportunity for those people to have a place to work. And then as the state expands that there would hopefully be a system kind of coinciding together. And that solar technician program predominantly would be housed with the CTE program at USU Blanding specifically. And so that's being given guidance from the Utah State University president directly, and one of her team members that's kind of running that. So I'm sitting with that committee right now trying to help initiate some of those programs. We had our livestock quality assessment
Can I
workshop.
just make a comment on that?
Yeah.
There's lots of good things happening with energy at USU. One of the things that we're trying to do, I partnered with them through a grant. We received $50,000 for curriculum development
Okay.
for 11th grade and 12th grade, where they can become familiar, the students with the future, with the energy, where, we work in our curriculum about the reeds. Okay, where those rare earth minerals come from, what do we need it for? And so they can start learning about this, and because we got a new approved to have an engineering they deal with all kinds of energy, an energy engineering program at the USU in Blanding now. So it's going to be amazing to have what you guys are trying to do with the university and with this curriculum. And through this curriculum, we hope that we can get students to, besides getting the certificates and maybe working through an engineering program by doing dual registration, especially with the high school where they can get credit for both for college and high school. It's going to open doors for many of our students where they can either move on or open their own business that can help them. So I just feel like I always call the lining up of the planets when things are multiple
Yeah.
things coming. And I think it's I was talking to Christian, I call him Chris, but Christian about it and how amazing how everything is, coming together. And so
Yeah. Yeah. And this is definitely one of them. I never thought that when I started this job here that I would start diving into programs that focus on climate.
yeah.
Like it's not my area. But the reason why I am involved specifically being a horticulturalist is just the idea and the scope of managing the land kind of more in that balanced aspect, and looking for long-term sustainability and programs that allow individuals to become sustainable. So I don't know if I mentioned in the past, but I think kind of what started to spearhead this is at the Bluff Garden, I've been working with a company called Solar Solutions. They have developed a solar powered water pump that can submerge into a water tank, and you can connect the piping system from the tank or from the pump system to like a drip irrigation system, and you pressurize the drip irrigation system just with a tank sitting there that you don't have to elevate for gravity pressure feed. And so like once I started showing people what we were doing, then they were like, hey, we want you to be a part of some of these discussions. So we have like, I think some of the flyers, if you guys have them, we have like listening sessions that are going up. And so like a lot of the discussions I've been a part of is like, we have 2 listening sessions right now that one's going to go in Blanding, another one's going to go in Monument Valley to start gauging the energy needs and the expectations of people within our communities. And that's something that we would definitely be sharing with the commissioners, because that's very relevant information to everybody in the county as to what everybody is kind of gauging as leading the future, of how the county can kind of, if there's a plan, what that plan could possibly look like, and this could be a foundation to help set that up.
And I think in your position, renewable energy, how do those solar panels affect
Yeah.
the temperature? I mean, you're talking about having, and I was thinking, we go places as we travel this almost miles solar. It'd be interesting to find out, okay, what is the temperature? I mean, because the temperature had to change when you have those panels, and so all it will affect. And if we don't get going together, one of these days we'll find out that somehow we missed something, and so that's good that you're on.
So some of the discussions that will happen is, like you're mentioning, like the larger the solar farm is that sustainable in an ecosystem? How is that affecting the ecosystem, right? Does it make more sense to have more like localized small networks of solar panels that establish, at home sites versus large mass solar farms? So one of the things that I kind of brought up in some of these discussions also is the need right now. That specific project that I'm telling you about with the listening sessions, it's a 3rd climate grant that we're looking at. It's another project, but it's a 3rd grant. And right now we were accepted to go into phase 2. There's 3 phases of being moved up. So out of, I don't know how many proposals were submitted, we were of the top 10 to move on to phase 2. So in phase 2, this is where we have a small amount of funding to be able to fund the listening sessions to gauge what the community needs are. And then because we do this, then we'll be able to set up the proposal and then request to be moved on to phase 3, where realistically we're hoping if we get accepted to move on to phase 3, that we would be able to start having a surveying process go out into the community, and people can then maybe gauge all across the reservation, like if it takes this many miles to go from one home site from a main community, how much is it going to cost if we establish home site renewable energy sources versus the large solar farms. What's going to be
Yeah.
more economical in the long run? And based off of setting this, what's that energy grid need going to look like? And is it going to be economical for a trained worker to go and travel to these various homes to manage the solar panels? And a part of what initiated this discussion was the fact that there's lots of companies that have donated solar panels, especially across the reservation. And there's no workforce base set up within the tribe, within the county, within anywhere that actually goes out and services and maintenances these. So there's, thousands of dollars of equipment that's been given and donated. But what is the point of having it if it's not being maintained and the people that have it don't understand how to maintenance it, nor is there the availability of the resources to go and get the materials needed to keep it going if you need to do repairs and things. And so how can we kind of give back and provide that education base where somebody can get a certificate workforce program? They could even set up their own business if they want to do it on the side, and then they could be the ones to service these and work with the communities to keep these systems active and updated. So that's kind of also what initiated some of this discussion and why I started to become part of it a little bit, because I always kind of say, like, the reservation is a good case study for, like, if you want to try it and you want to see if it works, like, you got to try it on the reservation to see if you can make something work on the reservation, then basically you can make it work anywhere, right?
And another thing that should part of the discussion, we have all these solar panels in Utah, okay, and they're going to California. That electricity going to California. California has their rules. They don't want to have certain things, and they're taking our space for their benefit. And so somehow it had to be a discussion somewhere. Is this beneficial? Who is benefiting? They're making the rules. They make it hard for us to have
Absolutely
all this stuff, and then anyway, but. Yeah, it had to go together. If you're going to grow something, you have to figure out how to save the earth and all that stuff.
So this is a program that basically, again, like, I never thought that I'd be doing any involvement with programs like these, but it's a program where it could help. The information that we gain could set a foundation even for the state of Utah to kind of have an understanding of how to expand and multiply renewable energy, because that is on everybody's mind right now. So that's that program. Is there any other questions on that? It's a big one. Okay.
Just a minute, Reagan.
Yeah.
It looks to me like all of the focus of that program is in Blanding or Montezuma Creek. Is there anything happening in Monticello or LaSalle?
For the climate one? So with the ag drip and climate monitoring, that can be for any farmer that wants to be a part of it. We've been trying to expand it out. We've been trying to get and it could even be a farmer or a rancher can participate in that.
But there's very little irrigation going on any place in the
Exactly. And so we're trying to get things out. We actually have two people in the county that are currently participating in the ag drip program, and I think I might need to ask the people that are initiating the program. I'm just trying to advertise in our community and get people on board and enrolled. But we have two people that initially signed up, and I believe the CRC is one of them, and I think there's another one placed somewhere in Monticello. But I need to make sure that we get the information correctly. I think there's one location that wouldn't be tied to any specific producer that we want to put this out actually by Navajo Mountain to kind of do some stream monitoring, because there's a perennial stream system that the community is trying to look at what's the potential for actually getting thousands of acres of farmland back up and going, and the water that's available, and what's that potential. There's also a lot of other producers I've been trying to reach out to around Blanding, because a lot of more Blanding folk have access to irrigation more regularly that we could partner with. We have, anybody can sign up. This program's state-based, so even all the way up into Grand County, it doesn't matter. It's statewide. the reason why we're working a lot with Blanding and not necessarily Montezuma Creek. Ryan's been doing a lot of work around Montezuma Creek area. I've been trying to expand out into Monument Valley specifically. But I do go out and do programs continuously with Navajo Mountain. So like all of the discussions with trying to get farmlands up across all of the strip of Utah Navajo. I currently, and I didn't put that in the report, I currently have a Western Agency Council approval to start doing that work, resolutions. And I am working on getting the Northern Agency Council to get the last part of the reservation. There's also a meeting that I have set up coming up this Friday, actually, with a large part of BIA and a lot of Navajo departments to start discussing what resources they have developed, because there's some lack of disseminating information down into the communities. And so what is actually available, because there's people going around right now, I think, contracting work to do conservation plans for grazing permittee holders that basically is something that the tribe should be making available to the producers if BIA is requiring them to have grazing management plans together.
Again, you got after-school programs in Blanding and Montezuma Creek. I don't see anything.
So
Monticello or LaSalle.
yes,
or
with
anything
that,
in the north.
and I can explain that one right now. We are seeking funding specifically for those two locations. We were initially looking for Monticello, Blanding, Montezuma Creek, and Bluff, Halchita, and potentially Monument Valley. So we were looking for all of these. When we started to break out the budget and the grant, we're looking for the 21st Century Grant. When we started breaking out the numbers, the two schools with the greater need, because we just recently sent out a needs assessment to all of the schools within the San Juan School District, and looking only at elementary, but we sent it even to like the middle schools and the high schools, and the responses we got back, and I can share those results with you guys too. The greater need and the greater interest was both at Blanding and Montezuma Creek Elementary Schools. And they historically, when the school district was funding the grant for after school, historically those two were the two locations that also had the greater number of kids in need. So when we were breaking out the budget, which is, it allocates $400,000 per year, and then breaking out the travel, the training, the overhead that we would need to make sure that all programs were operating and that we were getting 4-H into these communities, because that's what our program would focus in, is getting 4-H opportunities, enrichment activities to these kids that are participating in the program. Basically we're right under $400,000 just with the two locations. We tried to get 4 locations initially on there. And San Juan Foundation is, I believe, probably going to be looking for another grant to continue funding after school at Halchita, and I'm not sure what other locations they might have in mind, but they had reached out to Monticello for the current grant that we are operating under with San Juan Foundation, and Monticello at the time said that they didn't need it. With the change in the administration, the principal, they are interested in having a program, especially since the Canyonlands, is it the Discovery Center, is not necessarily open and functioning right now. But in the past they were, it is now. It is now. So when it was not, when it was functioning, what I was told, and I didn't have this grant initially, it was under Paige Ray when she was here, and then I took it over. Monticello didn't want to be a part of it because they had the Discovery Center as their resource that they said that they were sending kids to. So that's why Monticello wasn't included.
There's 2 irrigation companies in Monticello. Do you know who they are?
The Monticello, I don't know what the names are, but I can.
Irrigation Company, and there's the North Creek Irrigation Company.
If we get the irrigation companies, that's a really good idea. If we get the irrigation companies on board with the ag drip, I think that would actually be a really good opportunity to gauge the flow rate.
I don't know if they're gonna.
But they
they're
get,
even aware if you don't
Yeah.
contact them.
okay. And I can look up, because I think the last time I looked up, it's on the water rights page. They're listed on there for irrigation companies, so I can contact them and get them on. This program is fairly new. They started announcing it last summer. So it's something that I've just recently started trying to promote a little bit more and get people a part of recently
Well,
this
the
year.
Department of Ag I've made several presentations in meetings I've been in about drip irrigation and seed crop,
Okay.
alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know the Department of Ag has a program. I don't know if that's different than what you have or if that's something that you can piggyback on or.
I don't know if they're partnering. This is a part of a really large grant, and the state team, it's organized by our state specialist, our state agronomist, and our microclimate specialist. They may be partnering with them to make sure that this is going. But they're supposed to be onboarding, I believe. I don't know, at least 25 new producers on an annual basis. And so we're really trying to push it out. It's a really great program. It gives a lot of great incentive, but even just climate monitoring across San Juan County as a whole, it's not there. The weather stations are only located at the airport, and we know how localized in an environment that is. And so, like, the more we can get this program out, the better off I think the county can start to gauge, even on like is it DNR or DWR that does the moisture, like the soil and drought monitoring assessments, and then send that out. What we've noticed in the past is basically our local area is a lot drier than what the monitoring tools are actually able to collect information on. And so the more we get these things out, the more that we can help get that back into the system, so that way we can amend even getting resources and the way that the state looks at sending out drought relief aid, and even on a federal basis, if the state designates that they need to call a state of emergency, we want to be able to have the most accurate information in order to aid those types of initiatives going through the state and federal.
Well, I wonder if you contacted these two irrigation companies or the ones in Blanding to do the irrigation evaluations
Mm-hmm.
and the 5-year plan.
Yeah.
I would think, that there'd be an opportunity there for.
I think it's a really smart, and I didn't think about that, and so thank you, because I think that's probably going to be the best and easiest way to go, to start getting it out and start evaluating the watershed even.
We have an active irrigation company in both communities. Blue Mountain Irrigation, I don't know what it is in Blanding.
I don't
You,
know. The Mac, no,
is it the flush the toilet plan or what?
I don't know. I have to learn that. I gotta buy me a farm. You wanna be a farmer?
But those irrigation companies
Yeah.
ought to be involved somehow.
I'll find out. I'll learn. I'll ask around.
Yeah, I can't remember what their name is.
Have you presented to the Water Conservancy District?
No.
Okay, that
No,
may be
but
a
I do.
good
I
resource
attend
as
the
well.
conservation district board meetings fairly regularly, and we
Yeah.
push this program out through them too. And
Okay.
like we've been, I think we've been trying. I have a farmers list. Like NRCS comes to those meetings too, so they know
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Like, and then FSA, yes, Farm Service. I didn't make sure I had the acronyms right. Farm Service Agency. And Erin Pettit, she's just taken over, and so
Okay.
like we've been trying to get it
There will
out
be them,
to
yeah.
all of our avenues. It's been available
Yeah.
for a while, and we just haven't had a lot of people take on and get on board. So, but I think you're very much right, Bruce, that working with the irrigation companies
There's
would
been
be
a
the
lot
best.
of interest and people signing up with different companies for solar and wind
Okay.
out here north and east of Monticello. I don't know, I'm looking at this, what's the future of energy to you? Of course, the wind company that put the wind turbines here sell their electricity to Utah Power or whatever it is, and I think it all goes to California.
S-Power. Just like everything
Sylvia
else.
said.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
that's a market-based
Yeah, they
thing,
pay
you
more.
know,
They
that
pay lots of more.
They pay
So
more for that energy than we're willing to pay in Utah, so that's why it goes.
That's why it goes that way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it
Cheaper
would basically
here.
be the information that we gather. We do have IRB going with the one that's underneath the provost office right now, looking at the education programs available to help expand that renewable energy technician base. That is something that, hopefully can help the state and then even our communities kind of localize and understand, like, how can we capture things on our own instead of everything going back out to California and other places where it's not benefiting our people locally. um, so that's kind of, there's a lot of interesting things going on right now, but you're right, Sylvia, like, things are working together in a very interesting way.
Yeah.
Things are just kind of layering over each
Yeah.
other
yeah.
the way that they need to. So we've tried to kind of get some more gardening education more across the county a little bit more. What's been hard, our Master Gardener program is, with the funding that's available that we get in, it's very, very much so that we're trying to, like, expand garden hubs. I've been asked by people in Monticello and even in Blanding, can we get like a community garden started? We tried to partner with UNHS to see if we can get a garden started. We also, Jeanette bought with the food bank, also wanted to start a garden, but there was concern about water and who's going to pick up the utility. And then also we help fund resources to initiate these gardens, but we expect the community to continue to do the upkeep and the management. I'm not there running the garden all the time. We expect the community to do it. So there's been there's people that have approached in all parts of the county asking for gardens, but sometimes when I tell them, like, we're here to help the community start it, we can get funding and resources to you guys to help initiate it. But then there's been some lack of interest of, well, I don't want to do it. I was just expecting for you to do it and then have it available. So that's been part of the struggle. Is we do, like, obviously our office runs on a lot of volunteer and even the 4-H too. When we're trying to expand 4-H to the county right now, we have STEM spots in every single community. We have it all the way up to LaSalle, where basically my 4-H coordinator, she's running to have these educational little, like, kit packets that kids can pick up. And so we have them all the way from LaSalle all the way to Navajo Mountain right
They're
now.
cute little box.
They are cute little boxes. They're in every single little community. And so those have been really great opportunities to kind of start getting things out. But our expansion base is just, it's so limited. And a lot of our programs are occurring in Blanding right now. Partly because of the close proximity, the greater population is there in the county. And so we do expand a lot of resources, but we expand it to everybody. But we are, again, like, we're trying to get everything out. The next place, we're trying to get my PI out into the next 3 locations, which would be Monument Valley, Monticello, and then I think Ryan wants to do one in Montezuma Creek. And so those are the next 3 cohort areas that we're looking at for my PI specifically. But we test spot in Blanding really easy because it's the greater population. So the more people that we have an opportunity, we kind of are able to work out our kinks more so in Blanding because it's just easier to access people. And so we work out like how is this actually going to work? Because like I said, the My PI program, it's a very hard sell. So Kristen, she's been able to kind of say, I can run the program this way because we've already kind of tested it, or it didn't work well this way. Like, it's kind of, that's kind of why we've been pushing in Blanding a little bit. And also my coordinators are based in Blanding. And so with the economy and then also the expectation of funding to travel, we have to get the grants to make sure that the travel's there for them to actually go to these places. Our Create Better Health ambassador that's located in Monument Valley, she does have a travel fund through Create Better Health, which is that statewide program, which is $1.6 million that funds all of the state programs for Create Better Health specifically. So that's kind of just a little bit of an explanation of like how our funding is stretching and how we're trying to maneuver people across the county to reach as many people as we can across the entire county. It's definitely challenging.
Yeah, that would be.
When we were going to University of Utah many years ago, that the housing, the village had a area where they had community gardens. They had a sandbox, and all the moms took the little kids, and we grew gardens together, and it was a kind of really nice activity because, we shared crops. Sometimes some were doing better than others, and it was really good. Sometimes doing a community one may work better than individual because sometimes it takes a few years to figure out. By the time you learn something, the season is over and you have to wait again. But if you have different level knowledge, you help each other. But I have a question. I don't know if you have an answer. I've been trying to find this answer. I got thinking one day about wells, all the wells, because I was thinking about a couple of wells in the reservation, but I was thinking about wells, and I went and found all kinds of wells in San Juan County, but I could not find nothing in the reservation. Do you know anything there? They have a map or a site where I can go see the wells? Because I was thinking, I know that some of the people feel afraid to use the water from the wells, but I thought I wasn't sure how many are in the reservation, but I thought if somehow people can be trained, another person be trained to test the water to make sure that they can trust it for the animals and for the plants, because I don't think that the water right settlement, whatever we have with it, is going to allow them to water the trees and water the animals and things like that, and they are important too to be able to have.
Yeah, in the Brown and Caldwell assessment, there was, I think livestock was only mentioned once in that entire assessment. And so it's only gauging the needs of drinking water for the human population and not for anything else throughout their entire community. So what we're hoping in that meeting on Friday, and I can send an invite to the commissioners if you guys would like to be a part of it. That's kind of where I'm at, is trying to understand what assessments have been done, what wells are they deem active, which ones are tested, which ones are contaminated with uranium, because I'm wondering the same question and I keep going and keep getting sent in circles. So now I'm bringing everybody to the table, like the Water Resources Department, Natural Resources, the Fish and Wildlife, like all of these departments, BIA, NMSU, U of A, Dene College, all of these people that have kind of been maneuvering and creating documents to set up organizations like the Farm Board that's set up over in Shiprock with Northern Agency right now. So it's everything that's been done has been kind of outside of the Utah portion. And we're trying to see where USU can kind of come in and help mitigate, so that way it's not just agency based, but these plans are developed appropriately for the people to be able to have access. Because right now, how can a producer know if they can set up a grazing management plan if a well is, deemed not usable, or it should be, not accessed for livestock? Just a lot of different things. Like, people use these things for drinking water, and it just seems like the community just ends up just trying to survive, but there's no direction from the overhead of actually what's going to happen or what's allowable.
Water to the homes in some parts, but that's just for for the use of home use. And so, but if they want to have fruit trees and have other things, if it somehow there can be a community well that can be piped. I mean, you can't pipe things from San Juan River all through the rocks or everywhere. So it had to be stations they can help people to be able to have pipes that go closer to where the animals are. I don't know. I keep thinking about all these solutions.
It's a spinning
but
circle.
Sometimes it's hard when you navigate between two nations. You know, we can have ideas for housing, like Elaine, you've been working so hard trying to figure ideas for housing, different things. But water, I mean, if they need water for their horses and for the sheeps and all this stuff. I mean, anyway, so I was curious and I was wondering if it was somewhere a website where I can go and look where the wells are on the reservation. I don't know. The rest of the county, they know there's an area where you can go and see where every well is in the county. But anyway.
There are
Yeah.
hundreds of wells on the reservation.
There is.
And a lot of them have been tested for arsenic, and they've been rehabbed to take the arsenic out of the water. I know there's many down by Monument Valley that were done 10 years ago, or maybe even longer than that. But what happens is they have these great big metal tanks near the well, and they've got a windmill. It pumps that tank full of water, and people come with their 50-gallon barrels in the back of their pickup and
Fill it up from there.
50-gallon barrels, and that's what they take home to get the water. And then around these wells, they have livestock watering tanks as well that pump out of this well and either put into the tank or directly into the livestock watering tank troughs. But I know that I don't know who keeps track of that either, but there are hundreds of wells on the reservation that have that kind of a system. So this water settlement, if they ever do get water pumped out of the San Juan River and out to the Utah Navajos, it'll completely change the whole concept of watering. They won't have to go to the windmill of the big metal tank and get water in the 55-gallon drum in the back of their pickup and haul it to their home. But
it'll be hard to do in an electrical battery pickup, taking those.
well, they
Yeah,
have
to run the
solar
pump.
on a lot of those.
Yeah.
Have gone to
Yeah.
solar, and
Yeah.
they use because that's obviously the reservation is prime for solar, just like down near Bluff. The possibility that solar farm is huge. That the Sitlas talked about, but there's a lot of water there are a lot of water wells on the reservation.
The Division of Drinking Water tracks that. They have an interactive map online where you can go to each well that has a legitimate permit and find the details of that well.
I found that for the rest of the county, but and I even asked somebody else. They knew it would kind of show me, but we couldn't find.
And Mark will be here later as well, giving a presentation on drinking water, and that's something that we can have him point out to us as well.
Yeah, I'm looking for answers too. I know there's researchers. When I was going through the IRB process, when I was doing my school for the Peach Preservation Project, there are a lot of researchers that were testing the water sources for like contaminants. And so there is data. I just don't it's just hard to track down. Like people are doing it. There are things, but it's just.
NRF participated in a lot of those treatments of those wells that had arsenic in them when I sat on the board, and I don't know if they still entertain that at the NRF level, but I know we must have bought treatment type things that helped with arsenic in the water down in Monument Valley a lot of times, and I can't remember how far up the river it went, if it made it all the way up to Montezuma Creek or Anna. But there's been a lot of attention paid to it over the years.
And NRF is really good and with their funds, and I think that we just need to encourage the chapters to apply for grants and things. Anyway.
Okay, so with the livestock quality assessment workshop, we completed that in February. We had 48 participants. Our participation continues to grow at that event. And so that event, I partner with the San Juan Conservation District, and we host that. And sometimes we alternate years, but a lot of times it gets hosted in Blanding. And a lot of it has to do with the facility and the money. That it's more affordable down here, and there's been some struggles with having the right facilities to be able to host a workshop here. We've utilized the hideout in the past, but sometimes there's been some concern on like bringing in food and like the catering and stuff like that, and then the use of the kitchen. So another reason why we have a lot of programs in Blanding is because of the facility. But the workshop, we've kind of transitioned the workshop a little bit. So this year we focused specifically on livestock producers. So we had presenters that discussed things on poisonous plant research. We actually had the one and only poisonous plant, USDA poisonous plant research individuals come and speak in our county. They're the only laboratory that does that research in the entire world. And they're located in Logan, Utah. So we have a little bit more of an advantage with USU to be able to work with them and partner. We had some other people discuss some research with the wolf populations and predator control and a lot of other things like that. So overall, it was a really good workshop. I'm waiting on getting some of the feedback because I partnered with Grand County to host that workshop. So we invited producers from both counties to be able to come to Blanding for that one. Next year, we're going to focus back on field crops for our farmers, and kind of looking at doing an alternating every other year. We focus on livestock producers, and then we focus on the farmer population in the communities. With the after-school grant, we are building that program to expand 4-H through it. And 4-H, I can share our model with you probably the next time, but what it's kind of set up as a foundation is to explore, learn, practice, and then to teach. And so that's kind of the process that we take our kids through is in these programs, we give the kids opportunities to build leadership. We also try and, with this grant, we're also seeking funding not just for after school for during the school year, but another reason why the budget's so large is because we're also seeking funding to run summer programs at both locations. And so with that, we're just looking at that. The grant was just open for announcement that we could start submitting a proposal. And so we're trying to refine all of that. Currently, our program, like I said, is operating with the San Juan Foundation. So there's 2 elementary programs included, Halchita and Blanding Elementary. And then San Juan Foundation also applied for funding for ARL Middle School and then also the high school. My understanding is the middle school program recently closed down. I'm not sure how the high school is operating. Halchita has, I think, 15 kids there, and San Juan Foundation operates that because they own the building and they have a space for the kids to be able to go to when they get home from school. So I'm not sure exactly what their full interests are, but when we did the assessment, and I'm happy to email you guys the needs assessment that we did, doing a survey with all of the schools listed in the San Juan School District, so that way you guys can see those results and why we're meeting the need at those 2 locations specifically with the funding that would be available. Do you guys have any questions about that?
I just want to make a comment in talking to both librarian, the one from Monticello and Blanding, as we were talking about computers. And I can see the 2 libraries are very different. Like Blanding Library, they have lots of after-school children that come to use computers, and they're more where Monticello doesn't have that. And so sometimes each towns and each area probably has a different dynamic kind of thing. And so,
Yeah.
anyway, so.
Yeah, every community we work with is very different. Every time, we go into a community, it's like like Bluff is so unique in itself. Monticello is very unique in itself, especially with climate. When we talk about gardening programs, it's so hard to try and figure out how to have the garden space and teach gardening when the elevation's 7,000 feet and there's really not much of a growing season. But it also can be looked at as it could be an opportunity to teach like how to garden in this high elevation too. I've visited a lot of homes here in Monticello, so I do site visits. We do soil sampling, especially out in Elk Meadows. I've gone out there quite a bit and helped a lot of those people out there with their local homes and their gardens and things. I've been invited to I'm not sure if they're a book club exactly, but there's a group of people in Monticello here that they get together and they meet. And so I've been invited every once in a while to talk to them about gardening. So we've reached out to quite a bit of people here. And I think it's just trying to figure out how to maneuver with funding and meeting the needs and having people come out to volunteer, I think is the largest struggle because we can make anything happen. It's just, like I said, we need the people to be able and be willing to volunteer to make something happen.
I think in Monticello, as far as the computers at the library, I think there's a lot of use by adults
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
in the
yeah.
library
In the
here
library.
of maybe people that don't have computers in their home, but they
They don't have the
choose to go.
internet
They
sometimes.
choose
go to the
down
library.
Yeah,
down
That's
to the
very
library
interesting.
to use
No.
it.
yeah. I think they're both used as far as adult. When we were talking about the after school age group, talking to them, there was a little bit different between the two. Yeah, I think our libraries do a good job. They use it for the newspaper. The seniors go, older um, people go to the library for not only for the books, but for the newspaper and to print things and to be in the internet because sometimes they don't have the internet service to the internet. So
It's really good that the library is that resource, you know. Are there any questions? Any other questions? Any needs?
I think you're in charge.
Okay. In charge. That's a pretty fast
quit.
Yeah.
baton.
gonna go into Navajo mode real quick. Ona dish kid dole ya e bahal nagi. Nile de net kako tadena gosh adenek eshe bahal net. Na atka has net honlonagish. Pisnan ash.
You're going to have to say it to me in English because I only got a part of that. Sorry.
Okay. My question was just curious if you go out into the communities back home on the reservation and share it in the Navajo language.
We try. So obviously I don't speak it. Ryan also doesn't speak Navajo, even though we're both Navajo descent. But every time, if there needs to be a translator, I have specific people in every community that I request to translate for me as needed.
Okay.
So we do ensure that it's being translated appropriately. Yes.
Very good. Because I know at the chapter meetings, you're not going to see many young people like Bruce and Sylvia and myself. You're going to see older folks. And,
Compliment.
And so they like to hear things in the native
Yes.
language, and it activates a lot of the elders to engage and tell their children. So I'm glad to hear that you're bringing your translators with you, because they talk about these things too, but they kind of feel sidelined because it's not migrating across in the cultural aspect of it. But your work is valuable, I can tell you that, especially with the apricot trees.
Peaches.
Peaches.
And I'm going to be moving into apricots soon. Yes.
Yeah. In regard to your Friday meeting, I think all the commissioners, including myself, we'd love to just listen in.
Okay.
If you can share the link.
Yes.
I will give you a recommendation for the water in Montezuma Creek. I don't know if you've met Lauren Crank Sr. or Jr.
I have. Yes.
He should know about the wells in Montezuma Creek and
Area.
McCracken Mesa, because a lot of folks would ask for drilling or repairs to the windmills. And because I'm a sheep herder, I know all the natural wells in Montezuma Creek. They've gone bad because of the alkaline, and a lot of us like to blame the oil companies. There's a lot of natural spring wells because I think if you notice Montezuma Creek, they're down a little further, and they come out of the rocks. And there's even some wells that the chapter had constructed. They used to have these 10-day projects that the chapters used to sponsor, and the elders, they were young back then. They would construct these wells, just dig, and then build the wells out of rock. And so I remember even going to them and throwing our pail down with a rope and literally pulling it back up and filling our tanks. But we noticed it became salty, and there was alkaline, and even the goats and sheep, when they drank it, they'd start getting diarrhea, and so we had to stop that. Right now, Montezuma Creek, the only source of water for livestock is the one from NTUA. Texaco had some wells that they capped, but I think the one that's next to the high school was a Texaco well, and NTUA assumed it. But that's where the community hauls water now. But I noticed that with the tanks, the plastic tanks they haul, you'll see the oil residue. So there's probably some oil still in there in the water because they're from the past oil wells. But it's a good laboratory if you guys are interested in testing water and learning more about the history of natural water wells. But yeah, Lauren Crank Sr. should know about that.
Yeah.
And I think what makes it complicated in San Juan, especially on the reservation, is you're dealing with 3 agencies on the Navajo Nation. There's Shiprock Agency, there's Kayenta Agency, and then there's Tuba City Agency. And so you have to literally go to 3 separate offices for records. And if you can gather the farm, well, not the farm, the farm board, they're elected at each of the 7 chapters. There's the farm board representative, and then there's the grazing official. Those 2 from each of the 7 chapters, if you had a meeting with them and include Lauren Crank Senior, Jr., I think you guys can make a lot of good work happen. And if Lauren Crank Jr. says, I don't know what you're talking about, tell him go see Commissioner Harvey.
He'll tell you, you know what you're talking about.
He'll remind you.
Lauren attended our livestock quality workshop. He said that he was kind of out for a couple of years, and there was a time when I was trying to reach out to him. Now that NRCS for Utah Navajo is now all incorporated under Arizona, he said he's happy to help start making connections and partners with that side with the right people.
Very good.
A couple of years ago, I did have a meeting with the it was Emily Fife, and then also I can't remember the name of the NRCS state director for Arizona, but I met with both of them and also their tribal liaison to discuss what would happen. We also set up a meeting with some of the council delegates at the time to discuss like the process of NRCS actually coming in and doing all that surveying for Navajo. And just part of the process is obviously the resolutions and who wants to take ownership. And obviously there's a lot of conflict that goes on at the chapter level versus the agency level and then versus the capital level for for Navajo. So that's part of what's been held up, but been trying to continue pulling resources together, pull people together. And so I think this meeting is going to help kind of tee off something unique, especially for Utah Navajo. Like you mentioned, there's 3 different agencies within just the borders of the Utah portion that makes everything so difficult in managing. So if USU can kind of be potentially a mediator of available information that we can help create or divert people in the community to say, hey, this is all the information we've gathered, and we work with all the agencies to make sure it's publicly available, so you know all of what is relevant in your communities for you. That's kind of what New Mexico State University has done for the New Mexico side of Navajo specifically, and then U of A. And so USU wants to make sure that we're that partner for the Utah side of the communities also.
Very
and then
good.
however we can come in and bring in our specialists to help with research or anything like that, and help the tribal governments kind of come in. That's where we kind of stand on everything.
Very good. If you come up with a written abstract and a budget, you always have the trust fund and revitalization fund as a source.
Okay.
So, thank you. Yeah. Muchas
any
gracias.
And you
Any
have
question-
2 votes there.
Any questions, concerns, comments from anybody in the community or commissioners? Anything else?
I appreciate all your answers for all my questions before, so
Okay.
thank you and appreciate all you do. There's lots of work.
Yes. One other thing I want to bring to your guys' attention, and I'd love our extension team to meet with you guys, but I am currently the president of our state extension and agriculture agents. We're state-based associations, and then we have our national association. I will be turning into past president for our state association midsummer, and then I am tasked with the responsibility of bringing all of my colleagues from around the state that are just like me, extension agents, to come to San Juan County and tour the agriculture in San Juan County. So if you guys have any recommendations of places to tour, I was going to, if we can fit in the CRC, we can fit in the CRC. There is a business owner, I forget the name of his business, but I met him a couple of years ago, and I think his work is phenomenal. In Monticello here, where he raises game fowl for hunting, and then he also trains them. So I wanted to tour them over at his operation, and how he give our agents an exploration of how he trains the game fowl, and then potentially stopping at Pam Fuller's residence for her small farm, and then also Bears Ears Farm. And then going down, if we have Monument Valley's community garden set up, then we can stop there. If not, Bluff Community Garden, looking at some of the technology there, and then going off into Monument Valley to kind of give them a tour of Monument Valley, because they're going to want to do that. But if you guys have any recommendations of producers, I know we have some wheat research going on with Blaine Nebeker in Monticello right now, too. That's also another consideration I thought of, to look at the dry wheat research that's being supported by the state wheat research program. But yes, I'm open to options if you guys have any recommendations. I want to make it a good tour for them. So with that, I'm done. And I would love to set up a meeting with the commissioners if you guys want to be available then. We don't have a date, but usually it happens either May or June. So this May or June next year is when we would be bringing in the rest of the USU faculty for ag and natural resources from across the state.
Oh, cool.
I would be interested.
Okay.
In 10 years, you can come see my little greenhouse. I got my son-in-law build me a little greenhouse, and I'd be warming it up with candles. And it's amazing. It can be really cold out there, and in snowy days, I send my husband through the snow to go check the temperature. But it's amazing how. But I'm just a beginner. This is my first year, and just to be able to. I use my green onions, and I saved the little bottom, and I planted those. And I went for dinner the other day and got a bunch of green onions. Had to harvest my first harvest of green onions, and so yeah, it's kind of fun to see and realize that even when it's cold, just by having you have to have bucket containers of water in black painted black anyway. But it is kind of interesting, and so I was going to ask early, have you guys thought about doing greenhouses on the reservation too?
Yeah,
For
so
growth.
the community garden in Monument Valley where we're moving out to, we were kind of going back and forth between Montezuma Creek and Monument Valley. Montezuma Creek has an irrigation system that would take a lot more time to probably get the approvals and things like that up to par within the limitation of the grant that's going to be expiring by the end of August this year. So we have money that we're trying to get out, and we, with the current grant, I've been tasked with establishing 2 incubator gardens. And so the first one was Bluff. The second one, just because of the community interest and the support and the workforce that's available, Montezuma Creek is the second location that we've selected. And so with that, we are going to be, right now they have 1 hoop house. We'll be helping them establish some additional hoop houses in the future. And helping them expand that educational garden space, in addition to the expansion of the Monument Valley USU campus that we would have. We also have $50,000 there to go towards plant science education, and then carrying people that participate in that program on up into maybe even potentially getting a bachelor's or a master's up at the main campus in Logan through food systems horticulture education specifically. So there's a lot of things growing, and with that community garden space would be a center education space for all people in the community, visitors, anybody that comes through, all of the youth, would be able to have access to it. So they already kind of have a network established where they basically started that, and so we're just coming on to expand that and grow it and support them in what they're doing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you guys. Thank you for the budget increase. That is what we needed. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Reagan. All right.
Next item.
Next item on here, we just have some administration communication and updates. So first, turn the time over to Elaine for her announcement. We've got to coordinate tomorrow's efforts as well.
Yes, and I, thank you.
down in
I
Bluff.
I was not in the planning, so can't guarantee that everything's gonna be
So,
perfect tomorrow. So here's a copy of the agenda that they put together, which I did reach out and ask if they needed help, and
so tomorrow, just as a reminder, you have the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity coming down to Bluff to discuss tourism and economic development. You're invited to that meeting. Part of it, just speaking with Natalie, and Elaine probably has more to this. Speaking to Natalie, former employee here, she watches out for us like a hawk, especially in the governor's office now that she's the director of tourism there. She had mentioned if there's any.
Did she want to come back and work for us? After
We can't pay her enough.
Didn't she used to work here?
She
with us?
did. Yep.
She
Prior to
did.
Elaine.
I took her job, right?
She had mentioned if there's anything any issues or concerns or needs that we have here as a county, from county commissioners or otherwise, that we can address them to them in that meeting. It's just a great opportunity to have them here.
We need money, don't we need money?
Yes, money, people, housing, the list goes on. So kind of now's your opportunity with kind of the leadership of the governor's office that'll be down here, kind of full ears, and just an opportunity to plead our cases, plead poverty.
Yeah,
and
I
everything else with them.
don't know what each of the cities are going to discuss, but I did reach out to them to explain that they have to, it would be great to bring their priorities, but they also have to let them know, well, how they will support the office and not just expect the office to, fund or do everything. So it has to be a collaboration between the community and the governor's office. So I don't know what's involved. Colette Cox has been doing the planning, and this is just the draft agenda. I don't even have the final. So who knows what we'll hear tomorrow, but hopefully it'll all work out. I'm very nervous since our office hasn't had
I stopped
any
by your office this
involvement
morning.
in this planning. So whatever. So my only request would be, and I did express this to Colette, that we are somehow the legislators look at granting more funding for the rural grant rather than $200,000 to everyone. They should look at some sort of a graduated way to take that money, and allocate more to counties that are, in real need. So I don't know if that's going to be a possibility. I did talk to Ryan Starks about that last year, so hopefully they will listen. But I think that would be my request, is that they really find a way to fund us. Grand County gets 200, we get 200. I mean, that makes no sense at all when you're dealing with a very wealthy community versus a poor community. So I think they need to look at how they're approached to that. I'm grateful for the 200, don't get me wrong, but I think it has to be relooked at as we start to move forward.
Especially we have $1 million requested.
Yeah, we had $1.5 million last year and like $1.3 million this year. So, and I'm also hoping that this year, I've approached the SED board that we take the rural grant funding and we put funds into each community to help main streets, because the cities don't have any type of main street improvement project. There's no funding from the communities at all. And so if that rural grant fund can go to where, say we give Monticello, for an example, 40,000, and the businesses along Main Street can match 40,000, then we'll have facades that will be improved. We really have to look toward improving our Main Street communities throughout San Juan County. So I'm hoping that the funds this year can be used for that purpose, to clean up storefronts and give people an opportunity to match whatever they're requesting to fix up their, in Blanding, Monticello, Bluff, Montezuma, wherever we've got storefronts that need improved, to help make our cities look more vibrant. So,
Is there a Main Street program at CERTA?
there is a Main Street
There's
program.
funding.
Yeah, there's a Main Street, but it's rather complicated. You have to have a committee, and it's pretty involved. And I think for us, it might be, we looked at it, but it might be challenging, I think, for the communities. So I'm thinking that the rural grant might be a way to at least get it kick-started, to get people excited about trying to fix up communities and, old boarded up commercial space that could be brought up to code so that we can have businesses come in, or entrepreneurs open businesses. So I think that's a pretty big, the Main Street program that they have it's a pretty large program, but you have to have a lot of moving parts to it
It
in a
seems
community.
like it takes a few years to move up. I talked to Bailey, and
Yeah.
Monticello's had applied, so they're hoping they're moving up to the ladder
Right,
to be able
right.
to get it.
I asked Monticello if they had money but they don't have money to work with the local businesses or business owners to help with storefront improvements, but they are going to work on some other, I think, city projects that they have. But we really need to look to how we can help turn some of our closed commercial spaces into open commercial spaces for tax revenue, additional for jobs. So anyway, that's what I'm hoping will happen. And the other reason that I'm here is I wanted to introduce Mick Thornton. who's our fellow.
Oh, he's
We
the
were
fellow.
so
Hi,
fortunate
fellow.
and lucky to get one of 65 around the country. So he moved his family here. They're actually here and in San Juan County. So he's ordering business cards, so it is official. And this is Mac McDonald, our administrator. Commissioner Adams, who will be retiring. I don't know why. He really should sign on for another 4 years. But and Commissioner Stubbs
Hi.
and Commissioner Harvey, and then we've got Lyman, who's our clerk auditor. He's head of the clerk auditor's office. So I'm glad you could meet them.
It is super nice to meet you all. Yeah, my name is Mick. I'm actually not an economic development specialist. I'm a connection specialist. That's the thing I'm most good at. I've spent my life in rural areas. I'm originally from southwestern Oklahoma. Spent the last 15 years, give or take, with my family in north central Nebraska, like 3 hours from a Walmart, a little town.
That's worse off than we
so-
are.
Well, we have
From Muskogee.
Yeah, pretty close. And so my passion is helping people. I love to connect with people. I love to understand how people feel great about their lives and how people feel safe in their lives and how people feel unsafe in their lives. I've spent the last 5 years working with an organization in Northwest Kansas where we've worked with about 19 different school districts, helping the school districts do a better job of working with children who've been through hard things. At the same time, we wrote a couple of grants and developed a program to provide trauma processing services for kids in the criminal justice system. And then we expanded that work to their parents. We are currently having the opportunity to expand that work into foster care services because the truth is that life is pretty hard for a lot of people right now. And it's important to be honest about that. So that's the bulk of the work I do. I'm excited about working in this county and especially in the area of affordable housing, which is the scope of our project. Because for me, a home is a base of safety. From a safe house, a person can grow to be the fullness of everything they can be. And if you don't have that, that gets really hard. And one of the ways that we don't have that now is that I think our families experience a lot of toxic stress based on how expensive it is to live. I just learned yesterday that in the state of Utah, a report just came out yesterday, and the average price of a house in Utah requires a family to make about $132,000 a year to buy an average price house today in Utah, while at the same time in San Juan County, the average family makes about $52,000 a year. From a certain perspective, these problems feel impossible, right? Because they're related to California, they're related to federal politics, they're related to a lot of things. But my specialty is to come into small places and help communities do things that feel a little bit impossible. So I'm really excited to be here. I would love for you guys to feel comfortable calling me, reaching out to me for anything you need. I appreciated Commissioner Harvey hearing your story about being a shepherd. When I bought my pickup a few years ago, the first call I got after I got my pickup, there's a rule that people say as soon as you buy a pickup, everybody needs your help moving. I bought my pickup, and the next day I got a call from my friend Rolf saying, "Hey, I got to take some sheep to South Dakota. What time can you leave?" So I'm excited to participate, and I would be honored if the commissioners would have time to give me a tour of your region. I would love to make time and to travel with you to see the various parts of the county, and not just through my eyes, but also through your eyes. I think that's really important, and I'm looking forward to being a part of the team and seeing what great work we can do together.
I invited Mick to the meetings tomorrow because that'll give him a chance to
to kind of
sit in and sort of see.
Now, Elaine, we need to be there by 1.
Yes.
Or the 4. Is it the 1 o'clock or?
Well, they've only got Commissioner Stubbs on there for the 1 o'clock down in Bluff, and it looks like they've got all the commissioners at 4 here.
Here in the county office.
Yes,
and hopefully here.
We just have it in here.
Yeah.
And we set up some tables and
And
chairs.
then you're having another meeting in Blanding, right?
Yes, at 2:30 to 3:30.
So you'll start in Bluff,
Yes,
Blanding,
yeah.
Monticello at 4.
Yep. They're gonna end in, I think they're probably gonna drive down in the morning, Ryan and his team. And then we'll start in Bluff, then work our way back up here to Monticello. and
Are you
then
going
meet-
to all of them? Are you?
Meet, oh, yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm familiar with every name of every state person on the list.
You are.
Very familiar.
Awesome. Like I said, I'm very nervous because I didn't plan any of this, so
Yep.
if
Well, in a way, beside that part, it's nice that everybody, when they heard they were going to San Juan County, people wanted to come to San
Yeah.
Juan County. I thought that's exciting. You know, they want to come, and the more they come over here, the more
right.
Well, they
they
experience.
think about us,
There are
you
a
know.
lot of them that are going, well, not a lot, there are several of them that will be staying over the weekend. We've got the Utah Office of Tourism Board meeting on Friday. So that's gonna happen.
Here?
It's down in Bluff,
Yeah,
at Bluff Dwellings, but and it's Natalie's very first meeting in her capacity. So that's Friday morning. And then UTIA, the Utah Tourism Industry Association, they are holding their meeting on, I think it's tomorrow afternoon. So a lot of those people from all over the state are gonna be coming. And Caitlin Eskelson, who is up at Visit Salt Lake, she's here with her family right now. So we have several of them coming down to see, and we actually worked with the outfitters.
And you're taking them on a tour, so that's why everybody want to come.
They're taking Jared Barron and Lewis Williams and Josh Nielsen are doing something Friday afternoon after the meeting, and then on Saturday, they've got other trips that we worked with to get discounts. So we're doing a dinner, anyway. Yeah, it should be nice. I'm glad they're all coming down here to see San Juan County. So Caitlin, I think yesterday was in Monument Valley, and they're staying in Bluff. So
Cool.
it's really good for
Good.
the county to have that kind of.
You just need to figure out how we can help Elaine to stay.
I'm excited they're here. So,
Me
too.
I am too.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's really good for us
I'm
to
really excited.
showcase our community. So, and if you can make the meeting on Friday morning, it's at Bluff Dwellings, they have a room, there.
A conference
They'll
room,
hold it there for the meeting.
Friday morning at what time?
At 10 o'clock, I believe. it
10?
starts.
So-
I'll get it the time for sure. But yeah, we're excited. I think Ryan coming down is really important.
Yeah, I was thinking, wow, he's coming here. It's kind of a.
He's got the direct line to the governor, so anything that we want to.
What? We have many direct lines to the governor.
We do.
You know, I like a line that he said after he signed out those 400 plus bills. He said some of those were just taking a phone call. I thought, I wonder if Commissioner Stubbs can make happen like he does. He has a direct line. He's talking to the governor. The governor's watching girls play basketball, and he's talking to the governor like he's the next door neighbor. He has that direct line, but the governor says some of those proposals or whatever bills were taken just a phone call.
Yeah.
That's true.
So next year I'll be thinking something I can make a phone call.
Yeah, I do believe that.
Bruce Adams' friend.
He gave me your number, so.
I know he gave me the number.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, yeah, so it's gonna be a really good week. Tomorrow, we're taking, Camille Johnson, who, is.
King County.
Yeah, and she's now works
Yep.
for, UOT. And so we're taking her and a team of their people out because some of them have never been down.
So that's the one that your department taking people on the
So
ride.
we're
and-
taking them out tomorrow on
She
a
going
van
back?
tour.
She going back to her home site up on Navajo Mountain.
Oh, I don't know.
Camille grew up.
We don't have enough time.
Yeah, Camille grew up there on Navajo Mountain.
Her dad ran that trading
Yeah,
post, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're taking them, edge of the cedars, because she's
Okay.
got a couple of staff that have never been down here.
Yeah.
And then, I'm sorry, that's gonna be on, Thursday, not tomorrow, that's Thursday.
Okay.
So tomorrow's the meetings, Thursday's our fan tour with
Fun.
them, Friday's the UI.
We need a big schedule on.
Yeah. That's cool.
Cool, all right.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you.
Thanks,
I don't know if you-
Elaine.
Nice to meet
glad
you, Nick.
could
You
be
as well.
here, and
I'm going to
Thanks,
give you
Nick.
all my personal business cards so you can call me. And then next month I'll give you my
Okay,
business
perfect.
business card. When it
We'll
comes
call,
out.
we'll
Hey,
call
thanks,
Elaine.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
track them down.
Thank you so much. And I'll be visiting with you.
I've got a question for you, Elaine. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm thinking about tomorrow at 4 meeting here with the commissioners, and I think I need a recommendation as how to best approach this. I'm thinking of a couple of things for back home in Aneth, Montezuma Creek. UNHS has been looking at their grocery store construction for one thing. Navajo Utah Commission has been looking at the funding for a new post office in Montezuma Creek. And then there's been some of the folks who do vending out at the four corners monument. And then of course you got Navajo Mountain and their wish for a road to connect so that it's quicker. And I think Monument Valley is assuming Gouldings.
I think, yes. And
And
that's kind of still up in the air. I think the deal's supposed to be finalized at the end of this month. So we're still not sure. Maybe you know.
yeah, I don't, probably Delegate Yanito and Delegate Daniels would probably have better insight. But how would the best approach be to present Montezuma Creek UNHS's grocery store wish, Navajo Utah Commission's new post office request or wish, and then the Four Corners Monument vendor?
What are they looking for the Four Corners vendor? Do you know specifically?
Just, I think funding to make it a little more. So if you go out there right now, they just got vehicles
Right.
backed up and a table.
Yeah.
I think what they're looking for is like, what's the most
Would it be like a
comparable?
booth for where people can drive up and pay their toll and go in?
So Monument Valley probably is my best example of how they constructed the visitor center.
Mm-hmm.
And they have little shops there at the Navajo Nation. Something similar to that. I think that's what they're looking at, is making it more presentable
Right.
and professional.
I'd probably identify what those needs are specifically from those areas on the Navajo Nation. And that to me is a very separate conversation, but something that they need
Yeah.
to be aware. And they probably aren't even, I'm sure Ryan isn't even aware of it.
And so I'm curious, would it be just better to just write it out and let her head and just present those? Because the only other alternative I'm thinking of is bringing UNHS, Mike Jensen, to present his request for grocery store funding, Clarence Rockwell, Navajo Utah
Right.
Commission, to present his post office request, and Navajo Mountain, probably the road.
I might,
I
might,
thought UNHS was building the grocery store.
The road, the
the road to Navajo Mountain.
Navajo Mountain.
Yeah. Well, that one is kind of a,
Not the one in Montezuma Creek?
Oh, UNHS is doing that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You're
So,
talking about one in Neville Mountain.
yeah,
one from Murray
Navajo
Valley
Mountain.
to-
I think they were looking for funding to cover the environmental impact or something like that.
Yeah,
Since
because they
they,
lost those funds from the last minute from the legislature, and so
But yeah,
since
if you
they
bring
only
a,
have an hour, and I don't know what all, I would think that you'd want to specifically outline
just outline.
what your requests are, you know, specifically from the, and then I would put at the bottom requests for a meeting,
Okay.
so that I think if it means going up to Salt Lake with yourself and the representatives from each of those areas to elaborate more on each specific point, because those are really discussions that are, they're going to need some big dollars to support what their
Okay.
requests are. And I would think meeting with maybe the lieutenant governor, but I would put that that these are the requests, and then that we'd like to schedule a meeting. And this way, if it's written and we're
Yeah.
giving it to him, it's probably something he needs to follow through on, unless you have any other recommendation.
Can we do that, Mac?
Yeah,
Just
I've
get
been
a
writing them
simple one letter.
I mean,
Same.
Commissioner Adams, do you have any other recommendation, or do you think that would be the way to go about it?
Yeah, I would think of something in a
Uh-huh,
outline on
Right.
paper that
Okay.
they could take,
exactly.
because, you know, you're talking about a pretty big number of people,
Mhm.
and that's gonna take up a lot of the time.
Exactly. And I think this way, if you put on there, you're requesting a meeting, it's really something they need to address
Yeah.
specifically. And then you can have that delegation from all those different entities travel up. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's worth doing, and I would certainly like to help you to, or facilitate the meeting. I can do that and follow up after they leave to, you know, if you want to have it written out, request the meeting, then I can do the follow-up to see when we can get something scheduled with
and I
them.
think other things we should think too. What can NRF can do? I mean, there's funds there that comes from the state of Utah to benefit the people on the reservation. So if the Anna chapter or which other chapter benefit from the post office, I think it should be something we can even talk to Congressman John Curtis and see if there's any funds that he can kind of, because sometimes we have to be selected which one we want. If we want the study for the road, they already say no. And my thinking is with the road, we have to decide, do we want a gravel road to start with, and at least we have something, and with time it'll get better. But when we're trying to go for the big thing, and lots of issue with the maintenance, I mean, what happened when we had the wind blow the sand across the road, who will be responsible to clean it? So I think there's lots of issue with that, but I think if we start thinking, there's lots of good non-paved road, then maybe we can start that way, because how many years we have been waiting, and we're waiting for, and there's some things that can be done besides asphalt. There's other technology that have been used. But anyway, to me, I know the importance of the studies is very important, because they keep the project going, and you don't have to start all over again. We already invest lots of money. I know with the 7-county coalition, we have talked about things like this, and it was kind of disappointing when they removed that. But so somehow we had to figure out how can make the road happen. And I know Matt gets called when when they have storms or something like that, and the old road that they used to go, whatever they use, that's really bad. We don't have a contract with them, but they call Mac because he can respond faster. But I think that when it comes to the road, we have to figure out what is possible, because we keep wishing for for something that probably same possibility. I think it could have been done with the federal government, the government that's right now, for the tribe would ask for a infrastructure project, I think he will get it. But it had to come from the tribe. And I think they will probably get something like that. But for the Sabuta, I don't know if they feel like they can put that kind of money. I know anybody knows the final cost of what costs, and like it's millions and millions of dollars. Just for the study is 2 million.
That's what I was going to say. The studies, I know
Yeah.
that has to be
It's
done.
3 million. I think the tribe is Navajo Nation giving some, but the 2 million we thought we're gonna get from the legislature didn't happen. But somehow, I don't know, and I don't know if the Navajo, the NRF can do anything for that study, and it can be each of the chapters probably can. Some have lots of money there in the account that they can use and come up with 1 million, 2 million. I don't know, but I think it would take.
Yeah, it's worth a conversation.
We need to have that
Yeah.
conversation, and when we meet with the president, the Navajo Nation president, it'll be something that we can see what can we bring to the table. Each can bring to the table, and I know, going to Navajo Mountain all around that is lots of time, when you could do it. But anyway, so
Okay.
So would that be possible, Matt? Can we?
Yeah, let me said I think Ryan would be the best, but let me follow up on some of these because last time Congressman Curtis was here, we tasked him with the post office, and so let me communicate through his office and just see where that was at because last we had heard was the post office was closing down altogether,
Right.
and so now to come in and ask for a new when the federal government was trying to close, so let me try to loop that in with the congressman. The Oljedo to Navajo Mountain Road, like you mentioned, that's been before the state legislature. When we had the meeting with the Lieutenant Governor, she kind of tasked that back to the Navajo Nation. It was Herman Daniels that was there, and also with Yanito, Councilman Yanito. It's the same thing. It's like, well, are you guys asking the federal government to do more of this instead of the state of Utah? And so let me follow those two. The Four Corners vendor spot, we can talk to Ryan and just see what he recommends on there, and just try to get Ryan, who's the director of all of the offices there, just to see how best to approach that on there. So I wrote those down to try to help pull that. The difficult part, I know the federal government is looking at the EIS in general, as well as the Navajo Nation, and trying to relax some of those standards so it's not so bureaucratic on a federal side, to hopefully ease that burden. I know that you'll hear from Emory Telecom later on, well, not too late, in just a couple minutes, regarding their difficulties with EIS and the broadband technology within the Navajo Nation. And so, yeah, I'll keep those, and then,
If you need me to
Let's
do
work on
anything
them.
to follow up, let me know.
yeah. And so I'll follow up
Yeah.
with you on that and see
And
where
I-
we can go.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
sounds
think
good.
it would be good when you get done to have something that we can physically
Yeah.
hand him.
And I think it'd be kind of like you had mentioned, is meeting with Ryan kind of on a separate level to go
Right.
through these and how best to approach it and try to create a strategy. And then
Okay.
we can talk to Moroni also on the Navajo Nation side,
Yeah.
and just see what their priorities are going to be for the next legislative session. Because I think they'll try again for the Oljedo Navajo Mountain request, but I think it'll continue to get stopped when they're pushing more to the federal government to assist.
Yeah. I think if we just, working together to be
Yeah.
on the same page,
Mhm.
that's a very good idea.
Yep.
I know UNHS was trying to work on that grocery store too.
Yeah, yep.
But
I've got that one on there with the EIS.
Okay.
That's where they're stuck.
Okay.
I think last I'd heard, they had the funds. The Navajo Nation also contributed for that through their economic development. But if we're stuck at EIS, that's a it's a heavy lift on the Navajo Nation, and so
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
let me see what we can get.
Well, at least I got to identify those.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's
and
true.
we're aware, you know.
Sure.
But,
Absolutely. Well, if you need me to do anything, let me know.
Elaine, is there, I think that the hospital administrator would, every one of these people were involved in the funding for the hospital. I think he'd like to come and thank them and maybe a
Oh.
5-minute thing. Is that all right to invite him?
You know, I would say he should just come, I guess. I mean, I didn't, do the invites, but I think if he's there,
Well, I'll give him all of my time.
yeah, have him.
I took-
Sure. Do you
took your time.
do you want me to
I'll
do you talk to him?
Clayton and
Okay.
I took your time.
Have him
and,
come down and just tell him he's got 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's wonderful. Yeah,
'Cause
sure.
all of these, Corianne
you
and,
didn't
Yep.
come, so
and
show me
Colette,
some of my time myself,
Lisenby,
I thought,
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Harvey
Ryan
times.
Starks, every one of them are involved in getting that funding.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. If he's here, and I mean, he can
Okay.
come down for a few minutes and thank them. I think that means a lot. So, okay, cool. Thank you guys very much. I
Well, thank you.
appreciate
Thank
everything
you,
you do.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
So where's your office at?
Right now, my office is in my fifth wheel camper down at the Westerner RV Park.
Okay.
So we'll be.
He's adding revenue to the communities.
Yeah. My wife and children and I will be finding a house and hopefully buying a house somewhere in the area in the next few months. So affordable housing is not only a professional project I'm working on, it's a very personal conversation at the moment
He
as
has
well.
3 wonderful children and his wonderful wife, so I had a chance to.
So how
Meet with
old are
them.
your children?
16, 14, and 10.
Oh,
So our
wonderful age.
our 16-year-old Daniel will graduate from high school during the season for sure that we're in this area, as will most likely our 14-year-old
So
daughter.
what do you have,
Aurora.
boy, girls? Or
Uh, Our son and 2 daughters.
oh, okay.
And his son was thrilled to know that we've got a drama, department here at Monticello High School
They're
that is
good.
astounding.
Those
They're just
guys are
amazing.
Yeah,
So he was
amazing.
excited. They actually went to the play,
Oh,
so which is
Yeah.
really nice. So it's all good. I'm really happy.
they had good
Nick's here.
elementary school. They had really good school here in Monticello.
Yeah, exactly.
They have good,
So he just has
good
to find
scores on
permanent housing so his son can get his driver's license.
That's right.
That's
right.
Thank you.
Uh,
All right, we've got 4 minutes to get to our next meeting, so I'll go ahead and hold my items until later.
Oh,
So
okay.
we had to adjourn.
So
Yeah, so you can take a break, and we'll go to the next meeting.
Okay.
Get that all queued up
I
and
want to visit with you.
get ready to go for our 11 o'clock.
Blanding Irrigation Company.
Oh,
And
Blanding
there
irrigation.
Shane
There you
Shelway, Merlin Grover, and BJ Grover.
go. Okay,
Oh.
there you
okay.
go.
Anyway,
The Grover Cartel, huh?
I can, you have a truck.
Shocking.
I can imagine to him the thing you talked about the children.
Adjourn.
Oh, yeah.